times that, do the math. That's half our money, the other half comes from what we save the university, and that's basically what solves our, or runs our program. Now, another universities is done differently. At University of Colorado in Boulder, students own the recycling program. They charge themselves student fees, so they operate it. This is the whole deal. You go down to the University of Colorado Boulder and you walk into the building, the first thing you see is big old recycling bins everywhere, and they do a great job of it. They're able to do things that we can't do here because a lot of our buildings, oh, we don't want recycling bins and this and that and the other. Down there, because the students own it and they're the customers, they put them wherever they want. They do a good job of collecting and recycling. They're not as concerned about what they do with it once they process it, because their money comes from student fees. Ours comes, we have to be good at what we do because we depend on the revenue. In other words, they don't do a very good job of separating theirs. In fact, they give it to a local recycling company, most of it. They don't really care about the revenue because they get it from students. Well, I think ours is pretty unique because I don't cost you anything. I don't cost your parents who are paying taxes or anything. This is all a self-funded.
So you can see how this fits into that book we've been reading about economics and ecology, where it's really, the economics is driving an awful lot of what we do, and so it's shaping the economics that make policy work better.
And then, of course, the environment is the other reason. Besides the economics, the environment is the other reason. Of course, we live in a beautiful area. Every time we recycle plant paper, which is about what you see in that box behind it, how many trees does that represent out in the forest? Pine trees, old pine trees, any idea? How many trees to save every time you recycle plant paper? 100. Not quite, 17. So if you took our 600 tons and times it by 17 trees times 600, I think we figured it would take an area about twice the size of the quad every year that we save up in our forest by our recycling efforts here. So you can times that by the number of years we've been doing it. It's pretty respectable, the impact that we've had in terms of just the amount of trees that we've saved.
And if you think too about the carbon, those trees are sucking up carbon dioxide, so it's another good reason to.
I might just mention not all the recycled stuff. Recycling, like a lot of things, has become a commodity. It's traded on the Chicago Stock Exchange. It's a worldwide market. For example, most of our paper doesn't end up in America. Most of it is sent overseas to countries like Korea and Vietnam, and places that we don't have vast amounts of forests like we do here in America. Sometimes it's used here, it just depends on what the market is. So, for example, it changes at different times of the year. For example, cardboard, this time of year isn't worth very much, but during the summer it's worth a lot, simply because that's the market swing. That's when manufacturers are building the products they're going to ship to the stores about now, for the Christmas seasons and stuff like that. Right now, you know, you put this whole process of the cardboard you're collecting now, you're looking at cardboard that's going to be available from the mill in February, March, and April, so there's not a lot of demand for it right now. So we try to save our products and accumulate until the market peaks out in about June when we can get the most money for it. Okay, so we separate it here. And once it's separated,
Is that a picture of you over there? Oh, I didn't know what those are from.
Because shipping is the whole essence. Your recycling, your ability to recycle is limited to the market that you have that's, you know, economically feasible to send it to. Now, we're lucky in Cache Valley because we have the big company down in Hiram that makes the paper products out of, you know, for our low grade papers. And let me just, before I miss it, these different grades of paper, because we do such a good job of sorting, they're worth a lot of different values. For example, the paper you see there that they use for insulation is only worth $35 to $40 a ton. The white paper, once we get it baled, we sell that for over $300 a ton. The magazines are about $150, and so the better job you do of sorting and cleaning your product up, you know, that's how come we need to get that white paper out. That's how come we're going to all that effort. We could send all the paper we could and only get $35 a ton. We'd go broke. Actually, we depend on our white paper and our cardboard and our higher grades of paper to really bring the revenue into us. So that's why we go to all that work and doing it. So once we get the paper in that form, then we have to do something to be able to ship it. Okay. And any of you grew up on a farm? Been in a farm, didn't you? Okay, what do you do with the hay once you mow it down?
Bale it.
You bale it. Why do you bale it?
So it
Ship it.
maximize
You
it.
so you ship it. It's kind of hard if you went out there with your arm and started packing in an armload at a time. You'd be there all day. So you have a big machine that comes in and compacts those into big dense bales. And then once they get into bales, then you can go out with your equipment, load them big bales up on the trucks and haul it, or ship it to Los Angeles where they horse tracks, wherever. The same principle applies to everything. So we don't process. You asked me, do we melt our plastic? No, we don't. We don't really process anything here. We just get it in, separate it, and then we sort it, we bale it, or whatever we need to do to process it so it's economical to ship it, and then we sell it to people who do melt it back down. Now what we do is there are a lot of big companies in Utah and in our area, and again, recycling is a local issue, so it doesn't do me any good to sell my stuff to somebody in Florida because shipping would kill us. But there are a lot of big companies who deal in thousands of tons of products every year. This operation you see here is just a small fingernail. If you went down to Salt Lake and seen the big automated factories they have down there, or recycling centers, it would just blow your mind away. They do it just hundreds of tons an hour, where we're just pretty small. But there are these companies then who broker huge amounts, and so we'll either sell it directly to people like Weyerhaeuser or Boise Cascade, or these other companies. There's a company called Rocky Mountain Recycling, Interwest Paper, Western Recycling out of Boise. These are companies who already have got big contracts to fill, and so sometimes they can pay more than the manufacturers are, or sometimes maybe they've got a contractor to send a boatload to Korea, and they can afford to pay more than Weyerhaeuser can pay us, or Boise Cascade can pay us for domestic stuff. So when we get our products, we just bid them out, like the university does everything. We say, hey, we have 100 tons of white paper, 200 tons of cardboard, and we go right down the list, and then everybody bids on it. We just go each item line by line, and whoever bids the highest on it.
Where do you start?
I'll show you in just a moment, okay? So once we get it separated, we bale it. The cardboard is built in that baler there, and that's called the downstroke baler. You can see the big ram going up. So the guys come in, they back the truck up and throw the cardboard. That's like your grocery stores. When you work in a grocery store, it's called the downstroke baler. Works real good with cardboard. It doesn't work with much else. But the reason we have a dedicated baler for cardboard is just a product that doesn't store very well. It's very voluminous. And so if you don't bale it as quick as again, when I was a kid, you used to go to the grocery store and ask for a box with no problem. Now when they break the box down at the grocery store, Walmart, they just throw them right into their baler because it's just too big of a problem to have them laying around. It's a fire hazard and stuff. So we bale our cardboard pretty much. Everything else is baled over here in this unit. So this is a horizontal. Again, instead of the big ram being up and down, the ram is actually going horizontally along the parallel to the floor. So the products are dumped into the conveyor belt. It goes up in there, and it falls down into that big long bell chamber you see in the bottom. Then big huge ram with about 250,000 pounds of pressure goes along and makes its big dense bell. And then when it's full, the machine shuts off and we manually tie it. There's also a unit in that chamber you see there. It's called a fluffer. It's kind of like a big lawnmower blade, but only big thick stuff. And what it does is it just kind of roughs things up and gets it in smaller form, because if you don't, it doesn't make a very dense bell. So it kind of roughs it up. It doesn't shred it, so a lot of people bring the white paper down thinking we're going to shred it. We really don't shred it. You can still get it out and be in third size sheets, and you can still get information off of it if you need to. So it's very sensitive to that. And so that's the baler that does everything else. So now I can take you out and show you some of the products once they've been sorted and baled and processed.